Any of you losers actually like fantasy football? Good, because that's the topic in episode 3 of Chargers Football. Trademark. Hey, that's right. I am giving Chargers fans a break from the torture they've come to expect from watching this series of videos for once. Instead, we're going to talk about a fantasy football legend, one of the greatest players in Chargers history. That man is known as Hall of Fame running back LaDanian Tomlinson. Often considered one of the 10 greatest backs to ever play the game, Tomlinson had a level of domination only a few players at the position could match or exceed. In all 9 of his seasons in San Diego, he had at least 10 rushing touchdowns or more, an NFL record for any rusher. Also in those 9 seasons, he accumulated 138 rushing touchdowns, the most from any back in their first 9 seasons, and 13 more than Emmitt Smith. In total, he's second all-time in rushing touchdowns with 145, just trailing Smith's 164. Tomlinson's cutback ability was remarkable, as was his ability to turn his acceleration from 0 to 100. His elite vision and athletic ability clearly played a key role in helping him post god-tier stats, and the apex of his performance came in his MVP season in 2006. Now, I know the MVP award goes exclusively to quarterbacks these days, and there's no way a non-quarterback like Tomlinson would win it now, right?
Wrong.
Because Tomlinson was also a quarterback. No, I'm not kidding. Look it up. Tomlinson threw 12 passes in his NFL career, completing 8 of them for 7 touchdowns and no interceptions. In other words, that's like Deebo Samuel on steroids. And he has the second highest passer rating from any non-QB with at least 10 career passes. Anyway, Tomlinson threw 2 touchdown passes in 2006, but it was his ability as a rusher and receiver that put him shoulders and heads above everyone. I will go so far as to say that this is the most dominant season in fantasy football history, and I'm not saying this as an opinion. I can prove that this is a fact. I can prove it right now. First, Tomlinson's 28 rushing touchdowns on the year are the NFL record. In fact, since 2007, 4 players have rushed for exactly 18 touchdowns, but no one has reached 20. Including in the air, Tomlinson had 31 touchdowns, and despite Chiefs back Larry Johnson putting up a record 416 rush attempts to Tomlinson's 348, it was Tomlinson that led the league in rushing yards by 26. Let's talk a bit about Tomlinson's receiving because he's also one of the best receiving backs ever. In 2003, he became the second back in the league's history with 100 catches or more in a season, a mark that's only happened 3 times since. In 2006, Tomlinson had a great year in the air, with 56 catches for 508 yards and 3 touchdowns. This gave him his 3rd season of 2,000 yards or more from scrimmage, making him the 7th and most recent player to do this. Now let's get into the actual portion of this article. LT putting up the greatest fantasy season in NFL history. First, let's look at how far above the competition he was in 2006. For fantasy data, we'll use
Not 2, not 3.
4 different fantasy databases. They are as follows: non-PPR, then actual PPR, then DraftKings, and finally FanDuel. First, let's look at straight up fantasy points. Pro Football Reference's data has that quantified with the following: 1 point per 25 yards passing, 4 points per passing touchdown, minus 2 points per interception thrown, 1 point per 10 yards rushing or receiving, 6 points per touchdown, 2 points per 2-point conversion, and minus 2 points per fumble lost. Going through the math one by one, no, just kidding, I'm not going to do that. In total, LaDanian Tomlinson had 425.1 fantasy points in 2006, while second place wasn't even close to being thought of being close. Using PPR, the similarities with traditional fantasy points are identical, except that 1 point is added per reception. With this, we can add 56 points to Tomlinson's tab, giving him 481.1 points, which should also lead the league by a landslide. Now let's focus on DraftKings metrics. Here we can see Yeah, this is a lot to read, so if you want, pause the video. Did you unpause the video? Great. Let's continue. Tomlinson's 2006 season comes away with an absurd 512.1 fantasy points, well ahead of second place Steven Jackson's 441.4 points. Finally, FanDuel's metrics are up to take the snap. What the hell, man? This is a bunch of dissertation. I'm too lazy to break this down individually, so here, just pause it again. Using FanDuel's metrics, Tomlinson was the only player to even reach 400 points in 2006, and he scored 453.1 of them. Combine his dominance in fantasy with his insane production and record-breaking touchdown numbers, and it's no wonder LaDanian Tomlinson won MVP in 2006. That was a year where he got off to a slow start in comparison with the rest of his output. In the first 6 games, he was on pace for over 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns, and under 80 yards per game. That's still a good season, but in the last 10 games, Tomlinson exploded to absurd heights. In those 10 games, Tomlinson rushed for 1,342 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 134.2 yards per game. Fucking incredible. Going through these games, Tomlinson is the only player with at least 3 games inside the top 15 for fantasy points using non-PPR, PPR, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Now for the fun part. Can we actually prove Tomlinson had the greatest fantasy season in NFL history? Only 3 minus 2 ways to find out. With the use of PPR, we reach an immediate stonewall as Tomlinson trails Christian McCaffrey's 2019 and Marshall Faulk's 2000 seasons. By the way, I'm lying. Tomlinson has the most fantasy points in a PPR season ever. And hey, his 2003 season is also in the top 5 as well. Let's go to DraftKings now. Looking at how dominant Christian McCaffrey and Marshall Faulk were in their respective seasons, we can rightfully assume they scored at least 500 points using DK's metrics.
No way. We got you. Not a chance.
Yeah, that actually belongs to LT, the only player in DraftKings history to hit and break 500 fantasy points in a season. So now he leads all time in PPR and in DraftKings metrics. Can he lead in FanDuel's metrics as well? Yep. Look, Justin Herbert's on here too. Now one category remains. Can Tomlinson provide a clean sweep of all 4 fantasy databases? Can LaDanian Tomlinson hit for the cycle? Can he get the grand slam? I don't know. There's so many metaphors that probably don't make sense. Now, we must punish Tomlinson a bit by taking away PPR, allowing quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes in 2018 and Lamar Jackson in 2019 to reach the top of the leaderboard. Except Tomlinson still edges them out with the top fantasy non-PPR season of all time. Look, there's Justin Herbert again. This is incredible. Look at the competition Tomlinson's 2006 season was faced with. Patrick Mahomes in 2018, Lamar Jackson in 2019, Peyton Manning 2013, where he broke the NFL record for both passing yards and touchdowns in a single season. And yet, it's Tomlinson that has the best fantasy season in non-PPR, PPR, DraftKings, and FanDuel history. As far as career-wise, Tomlinson is also in the top 20 in all 4 categories as well. It blows my mind that with all the power quarterbacks have in a non-PPR world, that Tomlinson is in the top 20 career-wise and above everyone else all time in a single season. That just speaks to how great he was as a football player. LaDanian Tomlinson was both an elite running back and elite receiving back. Hell, he was an elite quarterback too. Combine those into a ridiculous blend of cutback ability and acceleration, and it's no wonder he's not just one of the most iconic players of the 21st century, but the owner of the greatest season in fantasy football history. Damn, that was actually a pretty easy episode for Chargers fans to sit through. I wonder what else the Chargers did in 2006. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.